Hey there, guys. I want to talk about collecting and budgeting. Budgeting for collecting. I don't know. It's a topic that's been bouncing around in my head for a couple of weeks. I've been taking some notes here and there and kind of just trying to get my thoughts together on discussing this. But one of my good buddies, Gary, is a big supporter of the channel, sends me a lot of knives. He kind of commented the other day on one of my videos. I don't remember exactly which video it was now. It might have been one of my South African knife maker videos from my good buddy Chris. He had commented about how do you, or, he wants to get into like a grail knife, kind of a high-end knife, but he's too busy buying $300 and $400 knives. And how do you make that transition? So I thought I would talk about that a little bit in my own story and how I got into the luxury watch world. And as my good friend Nick Shabazz says, don't get into watches. I didn't listen, and I'm kind of stuck now, but that's okay. And it kind of goes into how I bought into more higher end knives also. And I've talked about this before throughout other videos. I started with Spyderco knives way back in the 90s. And then my brother, when he was working in law enforcement, had a partner that was a Benchmade dealer. And so I got really into Benchmade because we got great deals. And then so as time went on, and I still have a couple of Benchmades here, actually. As time went on, we evolved in our collecting into, didn't love Benchmade. I mean, I still like Benchmade, but it wasn't my premier brand anymore. And so I was able to sell some of those and or trade some of those and trade up because I had gotten good deals. So I think that's one way. And this is kind of, this video, I really want it to be a discussion. So please leave your comments down below. How did you get into higher end knives if you are? I really want it to be kind of a back and forth. So I started with Benchmades and Spydercos, sold those, traded those up, and I originally said I am not spending more than $500 on a knife ever. That's ridiculous. They can't be any better than what I've got in the $200 to $300 range. All of that, right? Well, as you can see by just what I have on the table, that was a lie. I mean, there's some here that are under 500. Absolutely. Benchmades, the Shamwiri. Yeah, that's it. But what I did, Gary and others, is I sold knives to buy more expensive knives. So I would buy or sell, let's say I had 3 or 4 of these $200 or $300 knives. I would sell all of those and, for example, get 200, 200, 200. Okay? Those aren't the prices, and these are not any for sale. Well, as my good buddy James always tells me in the real estate world, that's where he works, he goes, everything's got a price, dude. Everything is for sale for the right price. Whatever. But you sell $200, $400, $600, $800 worth of 3 knives, and then you can buy a more expensive knife. The heater POW, for example. $700, $800, $900. They're in that $700 to $1,000 range, depending. Okay. And again, this is just examples we're talking about here. But you sell a few, and then you buy one expensive knife. That's how I got into the higher end stuff. And then once I got into the higher end stuff, like this Eric Kramer. This is the Eric Kramer Reaper. This was my very first custom knife. $900 at the California Custom Knife Show in 2017, I want to say. Yeah, because I went this year in 20, skipped last year, and went in 19. I missed 19. I went in 18, and I bought this in 17. So I bought this one in 2017 for $900. And I'll be honest, I put on my credit card, and I walked out with this one, and I bought a Medford for $10.50, and I flew home with them in my checked-on luggage. But this was the first true custom knife that I have ever bought, and I still have it today, and I love it. You can see it's kind of scratched up because I carry it and have used it, and it's just beautiful. Carbon fiber, ironwood backspacer. I love the blade. I love it. Okay? But that was my very first custom knife. Once I got into custom knives, for me personally, I evolved into the higher end knives. I have a few lower end budget friendly knives, but I have just, my tastes have changed. So, Gary, you can sell your $300 knives that you've been buying every month, sell 3 or 4 or 5 of those, and get yourself into a custom or semi-custom. The same thing goes with watches. And I still enjoy, stick on knives for a minute, I still enjoy my Benchmades. I think these are the only 2 Benchmades I have left, but I still enjoy those. And I do carry them still. And even the Shamwiri, this one is new to me. I mean, I've had it for a little while. It just came back in the mail from my buddy at Tier 1 Gear Reviews. And it's cool. And this is not, a budget knife necessarily. A couple, $400. And this one I'm probably going to let go at some point just because it's a little too small for me. But I still enjoy these knives as much as I enjoy my higher-end custom knives. I have fun with these. And I do carry these knives. I don't carry that one as much. This is one of my newest knives. Todd Fisher Archangel. Todd Fisher Sr. That one over there is the Todd Fisher Jr., TJ's King Kamehameha. That's the newest knife that I have in my collection. And this is a knife that is on the high end, way over $500. When I said I would never buy a $500 knife, I think this was my first knife that was, I think I had the CKF Muscle. I think I bought that for about $500. Maybe that was $450. I'm going to say this might have been my first over $500 knife was the Eric Kramer. And now I've gone into, several $1,000s for a handmade custom Archangel by Todd Fisher. Also several $1,000s for one of the first 3 or 4 King Kamehamehas that Todd's son, TJ, made. And this knife has an incredible action and a feel in the hand that's just crazy. But I still enjoy my more budget-friendly ones also. So my questions are, and then we'll get into the watches a little bit, and I'll tell the story there, is, first off, do you have a budget in your collection? I was talking to another buddy of mine the other day, and he was selling a knife that he had just gotten and that he raved about, he loved. And I'm like, dude, you're selling it already? He goes, I got a strict limit. I got $5,000 limit in my collection. I keep only $5,000 worth of knives that I own. And when I want something else, I sell one, and I keep it in that $5,000 range. I'm sure it's not to the penny, maybe. I don't know. But I was like, damn, I don't think I could do that. I couldn't do a $5,000 knife collection. Me personally, I have too many. I wouldn't be able to get rid of enough and have just $5,000 worth. So the question number one is, do you have a budget in your overall collection? Number two, do you have a budget per knife? I'm not going to spend more than 500. I'm not going to spend more than 1,000. I'm not going to spend more than 1,000 every month. I'm not going to spend more than 2,000 a year. Do you have some kind of a budget? Do you, I guess number three is, do you plan ahead? Do you say, I'm going to sell these and then wait for something new to come around? How do you manage your knife collection? Or watches? Now, watches, like one of my favorite watches is this Seiko Arnie. Now, this one's kind of modded with a glow-in-the-dark shroud that my buddy Jerry printed for me. He owns 3D Spectrum printing, and he does basically, 3D printing for a living. And he printed up several of these and sent me one of the first prototype ones. I love this watch before that, and I love it even more now because this thing glows like crazy. And this is a $200-300 watch. $300 maybe, used. And I've used it. It gets scratched up from all the desk diving that I do at work. But this is made to be a beater watch. The Casio World Timer. Awesome watch for $25 on Amazon. It's great. Can't go wrong. It's digital world time. It's fantastic. This is all the watch you really need. But I enjoy that and this as much as my Rolex Air King. And I bring this out because this was my first luxury watch. And what I did to get this, one, a good friend of mine offered to sell it at a price that was very reasonable. I had some of the money just in PayPal. And I thought, if I sold some knives, I could come up with the rest of the money. So I talked to him. He said, sure, we can work a deal and, whatnot. So I sold a bunch of knives in a week. I just said, you know what? It's time to let these go. Sold. I made more. I made about $1,000-1,200 more than what this watch cost me. So that's the other thing. Like I said, Gary, or anybody that's looking to get into higher end things, sell some of your lower end to be able to buy up into the higher end that you want to be at. And I did a whole video, and I'll link that to below, on buying to save. So there's value in all of these. Is it the same value as when I bought it? No. Is it gone up? Maybe. The Rolex did. The Arnie went down. I don't know, all right? I haven't shopped all of these. I try to buy at a decent, reasonable price. I try to look for deals. And you're going to lose some money on them. No question. But think about it for a minute. I've had this since 2017. Okay, 3 years. Basically, right now. And if I got $700 for it, let's say, if I was going to sell it, it's not for sale. $700, I lost $200 in 2 years, in 3 years. That's a pretty good rental. That's how you got to look at these things. For anybody that's looking to step up, sell your other stuff that you're tired of, you're not enjoying anymore, whatever. Take a $50 loss, a $100 loss. You owned it for a year, so it cost you $100. That's cheap rent. And then you can step up into something more. I mean, on some of the stuff I sold to get the Rolex, I lost some money. Others I made some money because I got in at such a great deal. So it's kind of a wash. If you really look at it, it all balances out in the wash. So I hope I didn't ramble too much. I have my notes here. I think I covered a lot of the things. I have another topic video that I'm really kind of struggling with in my own collection right now on when is enough enough and why do we collect. But I'm going to hit that video next. It won't be my next video, but it'll be my next topic video. But please let me know down below, how do you manage your collections? Do you keep track of the financial investment? I got a spreadsheet. I try not to look at the tab at the far end that says summary. It's hard enough sometimes to just look at the makers that I have. I have a tab for each maker of the makers that I have a lot of. I have random, like Eric Luther does not have his own tab because I have 2 knives from him. This and a fixed blade that just came in. Okay. The Fishers, they don't have their own tab yet, but I have 3 Fisher knives right now. The Cobra is not here on the table. Beg knives, which I didn't even bring any of those out. I think everybody knows I have a good size beg collection. It has its own tab. Yeah. But that's a different video. Back to the money part. Do you keep track of your stuff? Do you have a budget? Just let me know your thoughts. Let's help Gary out. Let's help out some others that are trying to get into more higher end. What do you do to get into higher end? One other thing that I do, which, no, I do save money. I put money in my savings account every week. I take cash out of the bank every week. I have my savings, but I keep telling myself I'm going to use that savings to buy knives and watches, but I never use it for that. I just save it. And then I just buy. Everybody's probably wondering, and I should have said this earlier, I do not have a budget. I do not have a $5,000 knife collection budget. I don't say I'm not going to spend more than $500 on a knife. I have already blown out as getting into watches, I told myself I'm not even going to set a limit. I'm just going to buy what I like. And as long as I can afford to buy it, then I'm good. I try not to put too much stuff on a credit card because I don't want to pay interest. I mean, I do, and then I pay it off at the end of the month. I use that for security. Because, you have some protection buying online with a credit card versus your bank account, things like that. But I don't have a budget. I don't have a watch fund or a knife fund that I'm putting money into every week. I just buy what I want to buy. And I look at my account and, I got extra money this week, so I'll buy that. That's how I do it. I want to hear how you guys do it and see see what the collective group is doing to fund their hobby. Because there is a lot to it. So anyway, guys, I think I have rambled enough. 19 minutes now. This might be my longest video. I don't know. We'll see. And people probably signed off after about 2.5 minutes. But that's okay. That's okay. I'm sure Gary will listen because it's, I told him I was going to make this video for him pretty quick. So thanks for watching, everybody. I do greatly appreciate it. I hope you found this interesting. If you have other questions that I didn't hit or you're confused or I bounced around a little bit too much, please let me know in the comments below. I always read every comment. I try to respond to most all the comments. I try to like them all so that you know that I did read it, but I do personally read every single comment that comes in. So if you have a question or you would like to know more about how I collect, what I collect, any questions, or there's never any off-limit questions, guys. If you have a question, just reach out. Totally open, totally easy to get a hold of. Facebook, Instagram, Email link is in the description. Post a comment here, whatever. I am easy to get a hold of. Just let me know. All right. Thanks again, guys. Have yourselves a fantastic day, and I hope this was helpful and beneficial. So we will see you tomorrow on the next one. Thanks, guys.